And checking in this Veterans Day, many in the Valley reflecting on the men and women fighting for our freedom right now overseas.
Yeah, for some families, though, friends and relatives never make it back from war. And I actually caught up with one football coach in the Valley who's been making an extra effort to remember those paying the ultimate sacrifice for us. His work is lifting up area families who may have nowhere else to turn.
We talk about these men and women a lot, but to see it on that personal level and someone that walked the same hallways as they did, it makes it real.
Parents' worst nightmare is somebody forgetting their child.
And the nightmare of losing a child became all too real for Margaret Anderson. Her son Bucky was killed while serving in Afghanistan in 2010.
There's not a minute that goes by that we don't think of Bucky. You know, it's the memories, or a song comes on the radio, you're pulling over, you're crying.
And every year since 2009, Broadway high school football coach Brad Lutz holds ceremonies like this to make sure the memories live on.
It's been a very rewarding part of my career as a coach, and it's been very rewarding for our football team to be involved in the tribute and to get even closer to the Anderson family.
Coach Lutz lost a friend of his own to the war, Clarence Adams. He works to keep his memory alive, too. When I asked the coach about why he does these special tributes, he says it's about much more than just a good football game. It's about teaching these players and everybody in the stands what it means to give a true sacrifice.
And I think we misuse that word a lot of times because the word sacrifice to a football coach isn't used the same as the word sacrifice that maybe Clarence Adams' family uses it as, or the Anderson family uses that.
And it's that lesson that he's teaching on this field. So families like Margaret's have somewhere to turn for hope.
I had no idea who he was until the year Bucky was killed, and then we became good friends.
So it allows us to use words like sacrifice and respect and honor and teach these kids the true definition of that by honoring these great Americans and what they're doing for our country.
Right in the feelers, Channing, in the feelers.
Yeah, and that game actually happened last Friday night, so it was really cool to see the whole community come together and a lot of good stuff going on. And I actually just posted the full interview with Margaret about her son and the relationship with the coach with this story. You can check that out on your smartphone, tablet, or computer on our web channel at WHSV.com. It turns out there are many people who identify as trans living here and all over Virginia, and for them, life is about being who you really are. But as I found out, that doesn't come without its challenges. Here's a story you'll only see on WHSV.
We're just trying to be comfortable in our own skin, is really what it is.
Eli Grossman shares what many transgender people have in common. He's a 24-year-old transgender man living in Blacksburg.
It's like I was a very timid, anxious person before I transitioned, and I never thought I would be as happy as I am today.
A few years ago, after living his life as a woman since birth, Eli decided to make a big change and begin the transition from woman to man.
A lot of people only talk about it in before and after, and there's this really long, awkward in-between point.
And making that change isn't simple.
Once I did realize, everything from my whole childhood past, teenage years clicked.
Eli paid thousands of dollars for surgery, went before a judge to officially change his identity, and worked with the state to create new legal paperwork, paving the way for people wanting to transition in the future. The word transgender is actually an umbrella term. It covers a lot of different areas for people who identify as a different gender than what they were assigned at birth. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a sex change operation to be considered transgender.
It's difficult for anyone to come out as LGB, and then when you get to the T, it's even more difficult.
That's because other terms under that T umbrella include androgynous, transsexual, bigender, and genderqueer. Joanne Benjamin founded the Yes Alliance in Harrisonburg, a support group for Valley youth who identify as transgender.
In local schools, we do hear stories of local youth who identify LGBT and transgender in specific who have faced bullying at school.
Bullying being one reason Valley transgender teens or their parents would not speak with us on camera. Here are two of the comments we received upon asking for an interview. Quote, "I do not believe that exposing myself and my partner to the general public would be a good thing right now. And most of the people I know personally who are transgender and live in the area are very private about the fact that they are trans and are not out in their day-to-day life. They're just known to coworkers and peers as male or female and may not want to be put in the spotlight for being transgender." People who identify as trans are 28% more likely to experience physical violence than those who are not transgender. Just last month, a 15-year-old transgender teen was attacked in D.C. It's this violence that's always on Eli's mind.
I'm very, very fortunate, and that is not the story for the majority of transgender people, unfortunately.
Fortunately, there is help available in the Valley, not only for young people.
We have more parents who are dealing with a transgender son or daughter who are coming to the meetings for just mutual support.
Mark Mitchell leads a local group that educates parents, friends, and families of those who have transgender loved ones. It's called PFLAG and helps families from across the Valley.
It's a way to sit in a room and have a discussion that's going to be held confidential.
And confidentiality is important to many, considering how vulnerable the transgender population still is in Virginia.
It's legal for me to be fired or not hired for being transgender.
Something he, Mark, and Joanne are all fighting to turn around. They've actually had some local success, too, after a change at JMU earlier this year.
We were thrilled to find out that they had included gender identity in the non-discrimination policy, so that will protect JMU employees from discrimination on the basis of gender identity.
Despite the progress, there's still a lot of teaching to do.
I'm glad to be able to make it easier for those to come after me.
Something all these leaders are working hard in our community to do. And of course, there are resources available on our website, whsv.com/only on WHSV. There you can find the extended interview that I had with Eli and other resources available to friends and family.
A video shot on JMU's campus is going viral. It shows a group of students rallying against a preacher in song.
Yeah, the students I talked with exclusively today say the preacher's message was filled with hate and homophobia, and the preacher tells me that, well, that's not the case. JMU students drown out this preacher's message to the campus.
You're heading to hell because you don't love God.
Both of these viral videos were shot by junior Diego Jauregui.
Seemed like he was intentionally inciting people to get angry at him. It didn't seem like to me like his intention was to try to spread God's message.
The preacher is Ross Jackson. He says he travels around the country with his family sharing God's word with students.
You know, sometimes I'll joke and say, you know, you never had someone love you this aggressively. And then they laugh. But we love God, number one, and we love them. We enjoy this. We enjoy preaching to the students.
Even though some of those students resist what he has to say about their choice of music, sexuality, and sin.
They were saying, you're preaching hate, you're preaching hate, you're preaching hate. But we're not preaching hate. We didn't say anything much about hating them. We love them.
JMU junior Luke Reaping is the student leading everyone with the guitar in the video. He says Jackson's message is missing the love.
Just really felt like those people needed to hear the right story about God, and that he loves us.
Despite the resistance, Jackson says he'll keep sharing his message.
We thoroughly enjoy what we do. You know, if we didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't do it.
And the students say they'll continue supporting one another.
Yeah, I mean, last night I was just crying thinking about it. It was so beautiful.
It's an excellent example of the spirit of JMU and the strength of its community.
Now, Chandy, did Jackson get in any trouble for coming on campus in such a strong way?
Well, I checked with JMU, and they told me that police actually served him a summons for assault issued by the Rockingham County Court, and he wasn't arrested for trespassing, though. And if you want to see the viral videos that we're talking about in their entirety, I've posted links to both with this story at WHSV.com. You can also find a blog where Ross Jackson has sharing where he's been and where he's heading next. You can check it out right now on your smartphone, tablet, or your computer.